I see so many people comparing Diablo 4 to Lost Ark, and quite frankly, I feel that this is just like comparing a banana to a watermelon. Sure, there's some similarities, they're both fruit, they have seeds, etc., but in reality, these two games are just miles apart because they are two different genres. So in today's video, I'd like to shed some light on this topic because I've been playing Lost Ark for over 4 years and currently no life in Diablo 4. Maybe it's going to help some of you that are interested in what you can expect from each of the two games. Maybe you want to make the transition from one to another. First, the looks, and I think that this is the biggest thing that makes most people confused. Yeah, both of the games have this isometric view. You also control your character with your mouse or with a controller, and loot on the ground. Loot on the ground. This looks disturbingly similar in both. Both games look polished and high quality, modern, so changing from one to another won't be a visual shock whichever way you want to go. Lost Ark is this sort of rainbow of colors and candy with flashy skill animations, sexy costumes, over the top emotes, and like super cute ideas such as the Mokoko symbol, which is primarily a collectible in Lost Ark but has been since used in everything from becoming the fun symbol of Lost Ark all the way to branding sandwiches with it in South Korea. Diablo 4, on the other hand, looks very safe, very, I don't know, sort of like Western. For me, I've been playing a lot of Asian developed games, even if set in a European medieval kind of scene. Even Lost Ark itself, right, in terms of the world and the looks and the buildings. But still, the ideas that they bring in are just completely different than the ideas you see in a pure Western developed game. You're never gonna see a glittery, sparkling hoverboard with like a funny effect at the back in Diablo 4, right, or New World, and that's great. It's not a problem. It's just a way to do things. But there's plenty of those kind of ideas in Lost Ark, for example, in Aeon, in Terra, etc. Same goes for skins. Western games have like this kind of it's they're very cool. It's a cool way of doing skins, but more conservative, very themed, if I may. Yeah, Asian games tend to have better skins in the sexy slash silly department. Music is fantastic in both Diablo 4 and Lost Ark, very high quality and sort of easy to digest, and nice, pleasant to listen to in that sense. In terms of story, here Diablo 4 shines because of the cutscenes. The flow of the campaign was smoother and more sort of on purpose in Diablo 4. You got the idea, you felt that you're part of that particular story. And also the idea of a story as in something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end was more predominant in Diablo 4. The combat is miles apart, by the way. It didn't seem like that at first. You know, like 8 buttons in Diablo, 8 or 10 buttons in Lost Ark, action combat, stuff is AoE, blah blah, all the same, you know, core feel. But the more I play Diablo 4 and the more I get into to the end, where everything is already set up the way Diablo wants me to set it up, the more I understand we're on a different planet. Lost Ark feels more punchy. It has a more impactful feeling. In part, it's the skill animations, which are just flashier, bigger, better, let's say, in that sense, at face value, which make your brain think you've done something big as well. And in part, it's also the fact that your playstyle revolves around the many mechanics that you and, by the way, 7 other players have to go through in Lost Ark. And so I feel you get a bigger satisfaction from the Lost Ark combat at the cost of, I don't know, more fuss to achieve it. Does that make sense? I don't know. In Diablo 4, the build does 90% of the work for you. And so getting there requires planning and farming for the right combination of stats. Skills also feel skinnier, but not in a bad way. I guess it's a good way. Again, not everything has to be flashy. And like twice again, this is not an MMORPG, so the combat is just right. But there's a big difference in between the two. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the lack of any mechanics in Diablo 4, like telegraphs and like objects to interact with as you're fighting, flying spheres to that you need to lure into portals, you know, the typical MMORPG things, is also something that makes the two games be miles apart, especially when you are at the very end doing the end things on a daily basis. You get to feel it a little bit more. Related to combat is also your build. The choices you make are way easier in Lost Ark. Gear in both games affects your gameplay a lot. So this is sort of a similarity, but in reality, Diablo 4 needs you to farm and get lucky to drop a piece, and you get lucky pretty often. So it feels easy to set up a really good build and feel happy or satisfied or done. Lost Ark, however, takes a very long time to actually get to the point where you feel as maxed out as you do in Diablo, and that's exactly how it should be, by the way, because it's an MMORPG and Diablo 4 is not. I would even go so far to say that both games can feel bad in their own way. For example, in Diablo 4, you get there quickly and you might feel, what's the point now that I'm done with gear and that I'm, killing Uber Lilith in under a minute and, farming level 100 nightmare dungeons? Why do I keep farming? And then again, the same goes in Lost Ark, where you might feel discouraged because it takes too long, or because you cannot get into the content exactly due to your gear, or because you're not there yet. I think the goals and the pace at which you reach them is one of the only places where these two genres could, or maybe should, cross over more often. ARPGs can have a longer term goal if done right, like the super uniques in Diablo 4, and MMORPGs shouldn't always be an endless journey into gearing up and earning power, but sometimes let players catch the carrot on the stick and take two bites from it before moving the carrot further again. Unfortunately, Lost Ark here in the West specifically has not really done that. So there are things to learn from one game to the other, absolutely. And since we're kind of moving towards day-to-day activities at endgame, I found one very interesting similarity in between the two games: the fact that they both incentivize you to create many characters. It's super cool because in Diablo 4 you start with a barb, then you create a necro, then you maybe want to try out a rogue, and then in Lost Ark it's the same thing, right? Today I'm a scrapper, and then next week maybe I want to make a Deadeye and then a destroyer and so on. So it's a really cool feeling, very incentivized and very easy to sort of boost up new characters, create new things, and try out different kind of play styles. Another similarity in between the two, and this is a pretty cool one, is the fact that you can get to a point where you overpower hard end game content. It feels really nice, to be fair with you, to just go there and one-shot things. In Diablo 4, you put in the time and you get lucky to get the pieces, perfect pieces that you need for your gear, for your build, and then you do Uber Lilith in like 2.5 minutes. It's a great feeling, and it happens the same in Lost Ark also, where this 8-man content can eventually, or with a lot of gear and obviously a lot of mechanical knowledge, can be done in a 4-man setup. 3-man setup can also be soloed, some of these 8-man raids, and it's just cool. It feels cool. A couple of differences though regarding day-to-day in-game content: Diablo 4 has a lot more open world events than Lost Ark does. I know it's surprising to me too how an MMORPG has less open world events or open world incentives that are actually reward. I'm not talking about that you can do something if you want to for no reason. No, I'm talking about stuff that actually matters, stuff that's well done and well implemented in your day-to-day routine in a game, rewarding, etc. Diablo has more of those than Lost Ark. PvP in Lost Ark is about 5 times better than PvP in Diablo 4 as a whole, the whole experience, okay? However, PvP in Lost Ark is 5 times worse than other MMORPGs or other games that I've played. And so, Diablo 4 is in a weird state right now with PvP, where the zone and the idea, the rewards that you get from killing mobs and killing other players in PvP are all really nice. It's a good idea, but it's not yet finished. I feel like it's a big work in progress that's going to take quite some to sort of polish and finish up to a place where it's going to be actually fun and enjoyable. Diablo 4 costs $70, so it has an admission cost. However, you cannot really buy power, at least not at the moment. Lost Ark is a free-to-play game on Steam, and you can buy as much power as you want or can afford to buy. To be fair, pay to buy power or pay to win, however you want to call it, in games is not necessarily the deciding factor whether a game is going to be successful or not. It's one of the factors, but generally speaking, if the game is exceptional, people are very much willing to accept pay to win or microtransactions that allow you to buy power, etc. Another difference is that Lost Ark has raids. Again, it's an MMORPG, so it should have them, right? All of the others do. Raids in Lost Ark are absolutely amazing. There's so many mechanics and so many things that you need to remember and do well, not just yourself, but the other 7 people as well. And because of that, it adds a little bit more spice to the game. It makes some people, at least at face value, think that that game has more things to do at end game just because it has raids. Diablo 4 does not have raids, nor should it, because it's an ARPG. People play these games for different kind of reasons. On the other hand, Diablo 4 does not have any like weekly cooldowns on the raids, daily cooldowns, etc. And so it gives you, it empowers you to choose more, or at least the feeling that you're choosing is there. Of course, you still want things in Diablo 4. You want those gloves that have those perfect 4 rolls, and then maybe you want that for the other build. So you do need to farm and you do need to set your own goals and keep going until you get whatever you need. However, the game is not telling you that, nor is the community, simply because it's a game that can be finished solo. And so you do it whenever you want to, however you want to, and at the pace that you want to. There's also much less, I feel that there's also much less gear competition and peer pressure in Diablo 4 than it is in Lost Ark. Obviously, you play with other people, and so you get to feel rejected very often. In an MMORPG in general, you need to talk to someone, they can get you in your group or not. In Diablo 4, there's none of that, and there's because of that there's much less pressure. Is Diablo 4 boring in comparison to Lost Ark because it doesn't have the many player raids and the in-depth raid mechanics and the puffy collectible achievement systems? Is chess boring in comparison to football? Is a pizza bad because it doesn't have pineapple? It depends who you ask. Myself, I believe that life and circumstances are the two things that decide what game we play rather than the name of the game or comparing the features of game X to game Y. So to answer the question, I've had a fantastic time in Lost Ark for the past 4 years, more than 4 years, and right now I'm really enjoying Diablo 4, and that's not based on a feature comparison. It's actually based on feeling and obviously circumstance. The game I feel fits me more right now, and the game's ideas that I can sort of relate with and get more out of at this moment. I hope to see you here on my YouTube channel soon for my next video. And until then, thank you so much for watching and take care.